All right, beautiful people. Brookvale on the northern beaches. Big changes coming, and we're going to talk about what happens when these big changes come through in industrial suburbs to the whole community. How does that sound?
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Signora Wapashota, how are you
Uh,
this morning?
Very good, Mr. Novak. Very good, very good. And today we'll be speaking about the big changes coming to Brookvale. We're building a brand
Yes,
new Brookvale.
building a
Quite
brand new
exciting.
Brookvale, and I'm in Melbourne at the moment, just sunny downtown Melbourne. Check it out, check it out. That's what's
Wow,
happening around here. Yeah, yeah.
down
It's
there.
all it's all happening. Lisa Novak did a big talk yesterday to 400 real estate agents,
Wow.
and very exciting.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. Great to catch a bit of a glimpse of that. So congrats to Lise.
So cool, so cool. So Brookvale's in a real interesting one because I like if you look at Alexandria, and what happened to that area, which was a heavily industrial area, and they absolutely nailed it with residential. What I actually find is people pick on councils and communities pick on industrial areas if they want to get further zoning for residential. So I find across New South Wales, it's very hard to zone an area as industrial because there's 24-hour industry happening, but it's very easy to turn that industrial to residential. So there is and I do say to people that are buying commercial industrial in the northern beaches, I think it's a good category to be in because it's limited supply and it's losing those uses in those areas. So it's like we're creating more residential, yes. We're creating more commercial industrial zoning, no. So it could be a good category for people. Quick tip: it could be a good category for people to get themselves into. I personally have lately, but that morph is now happening in Brookvale.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think not only, you're looking at investment wise, but also great for the community, Mark. A couple of points with the whole Brookvale structural plan is, the targeted 1,350 new homes to the area, 900 jobs. You're talking about thousands of square meters of community facilities for the public. It really is a complete transformation. And I really wanted to see your perspective here, because obviously you've been in the beaches a lot longer than I have, and you've probably seen the transition over time. So, it'd be good to get your aspect on all this, and what you see the future the future being.
Yeah, look, it all started. People didn't realize, but where it happened a or probably about 15, 20 years ago, when the commercial precinct shifted.
Mm.
So all of the banks used to be along Pittwater Road in Brookvale, the major banks. All the shops were there. That's where people, the community did. It was just a village pretty much for shopping, and then they had the industrial wrapped around it. And what they did is they pushed the Beeline bus down to Warringah Mall, and the Beeline bus only stops about 5 times on its way to the city. So it was quite a big. It was a little move at the time, but quite a paramount move now, because now the density that they're actually applying is around that Beeline bus. And the reason why they're just saying because we've got transport. So when
Yeah.
they moved the main bus stop of DY from Brookvale centre, that used to be the main bus stop, which was near H&G, Old Pittwater Road, sort of near the TAB, sort of around there. When they slid it down half a kilometre towards Warringah Mall, which made sense because Warringah Mall was a much bigger mecca for shopping. Um, then now when everyone's like, why have we got 15 stories earmarked at Warringah Mall and only got 5 stories, 6 stories earmarked in the old centre of Brookvale, and they're everyone and the transport and they're just basically saying transport. Got the Beeline bus, the major bus stop.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's quite interesting to see all the proposed plans, and it doesn't seem like it's something that's going to take too long. A 15-year plan, and we all know time flies. So it looks like we're going to start to see those changes coming in quite quickly. I believe they're starting off with some technical studies. They held their meeting on the 28th of November, and so it looks like they're getting straight into it. So we should hopefully see things progress fairly quickly there, and then Brookvale will only benefit out of something like this, don't you think?
Yeah, so from the council standpoint, they've approved it, and just now from a planning standpoint, they have to go through all of those tiers and steps of what they need. But 1,300 is a lot of units. If you want to quantify how many, like Warriorwood would not have 400 units. Monavale, would be probably sitting about that many units. DY is doing more units than Sydney CBD. DY's got 10,000 units. So adding earmarking 1,350 for Brookvale is going to be massive for Brookvale.
Yeah, it'd be great. And it really is it's a great little hub down there. I know I've got a little soft spot myself for Brookvale. Had a beautiful couple of vendors and purchasers move in the area recently. So and it's quite exciting to see what they're going to do with these spaces. So because we have a lot of them that sort of runs into that area that if you think something was going to get changed along that sort of Warringah Mall, Old Pittwater, that's the sort of area to do it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and there's something cool about it, Josh. There's something cool about living in an industrial area that there's a bit of grit. Melbourne's very good at it, at grit. Your Alexandria was a very cool place to sort of have a converted warehouse, and Marrickville and those sort of areas. So there's certainly something really, really cool about it. But that's the residential component. But then there's the industrial component where there's an allowance now to go from a height of 11 meters to a height of 18 meters, which incorporates 4 stories instead of 2 stories. So they've designated 2 areas as industrial. They've called it Industrial East and Industrial West in Brookvale. So what that actually means is the sort of the beach side, if you know, we're a long way from the beach, but the beach side, the eastern side of Pittwater Road in Brookvale, is one precinct, and then inside that horseshoe of the western side of Pittwater Road of Brookvale, they've called the Industrial West. And then there's inside the Industrial West, furthermore, they've got like an arts precinct. So they want an area where there's a blended residential, industrial, commerce, arts, sort of very small precinct, but yeah, something a bit funky.
Yeah, cool. Because we've got the North Shore TAFE, or the uni that just at the back there as well. So that probably all tie into that area quite nicely.
Yeah, yeah. So it's around sort of Rogers Street and Green Street around there, Dale Street, where the medical centre's tucked in there.
Yeah,
So it could be, it's going to be, potentially a pretty funky area, Brookvale. A good, would you buy a property with the hope of this, of greater heights and things like that? Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely an opportunity there, and we've seen even with all these warehouses, new developments within Brookvale. You got your breweries, you've got your classic.
Oh,
Yeah, I know there's a couple of good ones down near there. So, I mean, doesn't give me much other than an excuse to look at there as a potential spot for me, because close to work. I love Brookie, and I do
love
exactly what
beer.
you said. Yeah. Can't complain there. And then, like you said, it is a style of living, sort of that Alexandria, that vibe, that rustic. Yeah, it's something a little bit different. When you think you're right, within a 5-minute drive to the beach, you sort of get the mix of both scenarios. So very cool.
Well, I went to the council meeting. I've been to a couple of the council meetings on these zonings, what was really interesting is the brewery opinion from the local landowners. So the breweries have been such a good thing for the community, so much fun. It's given it's good, honest family fun going to these breweries, but some of the locals in the meetings really have an issue with it due to parking because the requirement, they're technically a brewery, so they're a factory, they're
Mm.
making beer, so they have trucks. But then on the flip side, these breweries can have 200 people. And the locals are going, where are these guys parking? And the breweries going, we don't need parking in our planning because we're a brewery. So it's a real, they've got a bit of a grey area there where they're operating under. But the nice thing that I like about the breweries is they're generally not operating the same time as the industries. So they're on, if you go to if you used to go to Brookvale on a weekend, there was hundreds of car spaces everywhere, and it was a dead zone. And now it pumps on a weekend with all the breweries, and then at night it's busy because of the breweries, and it was not really busy at night, Brookvale. So it's sort of it's operating on opposite time clock to the industry in Brookvale. So it's actually working practically, I think, okay. But yeah, people certainly have a bit of a beef with it.
Well, it is a difficult task to please everyone, but I see that parking's also been brought up in that structural plan to ensure that they have a sustainable amount of to spots with the development of the area along. So it's good that
Yeah,
that being something that comes up just for breweries, they've got that in their back pocket with their plans for the future. So it's good to see that these council meetings, discussions amongst the public, they are getting something out of it, and it not only getting something out of it, but something that the public and all of our neighbours are requesting. So it's good to see that work together, and it's good to see that
consulting everyone, yeah.
to Brookvale.
And also, before we go, something to consider is if you are enjoying a third story or a fourth story in a building, you need to ramp, and you need to ramp up, and you need to ramp down. So the blocks that are 6, 7, 800 meters are only about 15 meters wide. When you have a 2.5 meter ramp and a 2.5 meter ramp, you lose 5 meters. So I think what you're going to find is a lot of people are going to start amalgamating blocks because that's really where the value is to enjoy the height of 4 stories. You need to join 2 blocks. So that's going to be a really interesting one for Brookfield, starting to see people buying, and that's a big investment. If you're buying a block of land for 4 or 5 million bucks, and then a second one for 4 or 5 million bucks, you're in it for 9 or 10 million. So that's some pretty serious investment into an industrial property. But the industrial's not getting any residential on top of it. The industrial east and the industrial west is remaining as industrial. The part that's getting the residential is going to be the shop top housing, which is pretty much that artery that goes, which is Pittwater Road, that goes from Warringah Mall, into the center of Brookie. Interestingly enough, and I've been in a couple of meetings with developers with council, is the area from Warringah Road
Mm.
to the Brookvale Oval, no residential designation.
Yeah, wow, that's quite surprising. And do you have any reason why you think they've done that?
Yeah, it really upset a lot of people. And the reason why is because Ringa Road and Pittwater Road is the second worst intersection in New South Wales.
Yeah.
So they don't want to clog up those roads any more than they are. So they've pushed that density for residential up towards the mall. But in one of the meetings that I was in, there was talk about they've asking for state contribution to make an overpass and an underpass at the intersection of Pittwater Road and Ringa Road. And what that looks like, it's called a portal. They built portals up near the hospital, um, where right? You know, when you go down and you disappear under the intersection.
Yeah.
So it's very expensive. It's big infrastructure. But can you imagine getting to Warringah Road, Pittwater Road, and not stopping at traffic lights? Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's exciting stuff. And I think something else I want to touch, like with that area that we've been speaking about in Brookie and along Pittwater, I think as well, like you said, it is a big investment, but we are seeing, we're seeing quite an attraction for that area, especially for new finished buildings. We've got a property that's soon to be start construction down at 638 Pittwater Road, and the finished plans for a finished product. We've seen quite some cool brands prospect the area, because obviously, they want a destination or a head office, so to speak, for the northern beaches, and that's been a really big target in that Brookvale area,
Yeah.
and specifically that site. So I think, we had BCF, we've had Kaiser Gyms. A lot of people inquire about the space. So I think with this new structural plan, developments being brought in, not only will we physically see the changes in Brookvale, but we might get some new businesses, new services, new things that we didn't think we would have before that have come in with all these changes. And from our point of view, the inquiry level on this sort of stock has been there. People are happy to sort of look at these things knowing they're not built. So I'm quite excited to see the changes to come to Brookvale with this structural plan and what it's going to look like.
It's pretty cool. That's Brookvale. That's Brookvale today, and I think you can apply some of this science to other places you see across Sydney, particularly if you look at where Alexandria is probably the big daddy of seeing that change. Now it's going to be Brookvale. But thanks, mate. Thank you for going through. Hopefully, we'll help some people on this today, because I'm sure people are driving through Brookvale, just scratching their head, going, "What's happening here?" Seeing some blocks of land doing nothing. So it sort of explains why a little bit people are waiting for this to sort of go
Yeah,
through.
definitely. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing your expertise and knowledge, Mark.
See you, legend. Cheers. Bye.